I am a 40-year-old woman, blessed with beauty and grace. I am married to a man who holds a high position. To the world, he appears strong, successful, and prosperous. But to me, he is simply a quiet, weary, and unwell soul. We have been married for 5 years. In the beginning, everything felt wonderful like a dream. But as time passed, reality slowly revealed itself. My husband suffers from diabetes, and because of it, he could never fulfill the desires of my heart. This became a secret I carried alone. To the world, I showed a smiling face. But deep inside, I was slowly becoming empty, longing for love and warmth that I could not find. At night, it was the same as always. My husband came close to me, and deep in my heart I wished, just maybe, something would be different this time. Maybe destiny would show me a little kindness. But once again, nothing changed. I softly told him, "It's all right. Keep yourself at ease. We can try another time." Soon after, he drifted into sleep. But for me, sleep was nowhere near. How could the fire burning inside my heart be put out so easily? I quietly rose from the bed and stepped into the lawn. The cool night breeze brushed against my skin, but the storm of longing within me refused to calm. Beside the lawn stood the servant quarters, where our gardener and his wife lived. His wife spent her days helping with the household chores, while her husband looked after the garden. That night, I was quietly walking around when suddenly I heard strange sounds coming from the servant quarters. It sounded as if someone was fighting. Surprised, I stopped and listened carefully. I remember how the gardener's wife often complained that her husband would beat her after drinking too much. Curiosity and concern pulled me closer, and slowly, step by step, I began moving towards their room. Moved close to the door and pressed my ear against it, but the sounds were unclear. Then I thought, perhaps I should check from the window. If he was truly hurting his wife, I would not stay silent. The window was already slightly open. I leaned forward and peeked inside, only to be met with a sight I had never imagined. There was no fight, no pain. What I saw was something entirely different, something that made my heart pound wildly in my chest. In the stillness and darkness of the night, the scene before me felt like a hidden world suddenly revealed. A mix of emotions washed over me. Jealousy toward the gardener's wife for having her desires fulfilled, and at the same time, an aching emptiness inside me that grew deeper. For a long moment, I stood frozen there, silently watching, unable to look away. My conscience kept whispering to me that it was wrong, that I should not be looking into someone else's private world. Yet my feet felt as if they were rooted to the ground. At last, with great effort, I pulled myself away and quietly returned to my room. As soon as I entered, my eyes fell on my husband, sleeping peacefully, unaware of the storm within me. A thought struck my heart. If only he were like my gardener, perhaps my nights would have been just as colorful. I could not understand why such thoughts came to me. But they refused to leave. I lay down beside him, but sleep remained far away from me. The weight of longing pressed heavy on my soul. By the time I finally drifted into rest, it was already late, and when I awoke in the morning, my husband was gone. The next morning, the gardener's wife entered my room, carrying the usual tray of breakfast. As my eyes fell on her, I noticed something I had never paid attention to before, a faint limp in her walk. If I hadn't witnessed what happened the night before, I might never have seen it. On her forehead, there was a faint mark of injury. Concerned, I asked, "How did you get hurt?" She lowered her gaze and softly replied, "Madam, last night my husband hit me after drinking." Surprised, I leaned forward. "What happened?" I asked. She hesitated, as if torn between speaking and staying silent. Then, in a trembling voice, she whispered, "When my husband drinks, he turns into an animal. He makes me do strange things. I am very afraid of him." I pretended not to understand and asked gently, "What kind of things do you mean?" Quickly, almost offensively, she said, "I cannot tell you." She lowered her voice and said, "I can't just know that it is beyond what I can bear." I placed a hand on hers gently and said, "All right, don't worry. I will talk to your husband. I'll make him understand." She shook her head quickly. "No, madam, he doesn't listen to anyone." Even so, I replied calmly, I will still try. Perhaps he will listen to me. She gave a faint, hesitant smile and whispered, "You can try." At that very moment, a different thought began to stir my mind, one that I could never share with anyone. The gardener's wife was supposed to go to the market that day, and she wouldn't be back for at least 3 hours. My thoughts raced, and almost without thinking, a plan began to form. I said casually, "All right then, when you leave the market, send your husband to me. I will make him understand." I told myself, though inside me an unknown restlessness kept growing. It felt as if a new door of life was about to open before me. The gardener's wife soon got ready to leave the market, carrying with her the usual long list. And the moment she stepped out to the gate, my heart began to race wildly. I turned to the mirror. My hair was still a little damp, and in my eyes shone a strange, untamed sparkle. Perhaps this was the moment I had been waiting for all these years. After what felt like an eternity, there came a soft knock on my door. Clip 9. My heartbeat quickened. I knew it was the gardener. I spoke through the intercom, asking him to come inside. After a short while, he stepped into the drawing room. I made sure to arrive slowly, letting the moment build, letting my presence leave its mark. My damp hair fell loosely over my shoulders, and a gentle fragrance lingered around me. I sat gracefully on the sofa, and as he settled into his seat, I began speaking in a soft tone. "Listen," I said calmly, "I often hear your wife's complaints. She tells me you raise your hand on her. Why do you do that?" His eyes dropped to the floor. For a while, he stayed silent. Then slowly, in a low voice, he said, "Madam, she is not able to keep me happy." I tilted my head slightly, pretending to be surprised. "What do you mean? Doesn't she cook for you? Doesn't she take care of the house?" He shifted nervously and shook his head. "No, madam, it is not about food or work. The truth is something else," he murmured. I leaned a little closer to him on purpose and asked softly, "Something else? What do you mean?" The gardener slowly lifted his eyes to me. In them, I saw both shyness and a quiet, restrained desire. His voice trembled as he said, "Madam, what can I tell you? You might not like hearing it." I smiled gently, encouraging him. "Don't be afraid. Tell me whatever is in your heart." That moment felt unreal to me. On one side, I was a wife, the dignity of a respected officer's name resting on my shoulders. But on the other side, I was simply a woman alive with breath and longing, carrying in her heart a thirst that had gone unquenched for years. Gathering his courage, the gardener finally whispered, "Bobby G, my wife cannot fulfill my needs," he confessed at last. Hearing those words, it felt as if a hidden door inside my heart had suddenly opened. I leaned slightly forward and said softly, "Then, have you ever thought about where you might find that peace?" He looked at me in astonishment, his shy eyes unable to hide the way they wandered toward me again and again. Resting my hand lightly on the arm of the sofa, I whispered, "Tell me your wish today, openly. I promise I will not refuse you." At my words, his eyes lit up. Though he was still shy, there was now a quiet flame of hope flickering within that shyness. It felt like time had stopped. My wet hair, my scent, and the silence of the room together created an atmosphere where no words were needed. We kept looking at each other for a while. Then I softly said, "Today is your day. Fulfill all the wishes you've kept inside." As soon as he heard me, he seemed lost, with both surprise and happiness on his face. The mood of the room was changing, and a new story was beginning. My heart was beating fast, yet I felt a strange peace, as if the thirst of many years was finally going to be satisfied today. Finally, the moment came when Molly overcame his shyness. He stepped forward and touched my feet, as if to thank me. Instead of stopping him, I just gave a small smile. That moment marked the start of a new relationship, one that could never be shown to the world, but would always live in our hearts. After a long time, when everything was over, Molly stood up quietly. There was peace and a soft glow in his eyes. He whispered, "BBG, you've given me the most precious gift of my life." I smiled and replied, "The real gift is what I have received." Then he asked for permission and left. I was alone in the room, but I didn't feel lonely. It was as if after many years, I had finally discovered myself. The next morning when I woke up, I felt a new kind of restlessness inside me. The thoughts of last night and everything that had happened were still fresh in my mind. But along with the peace, there was also fear. I kept thinking, what if the secret ever comes out? What will happen to me? After breakfast, I looked closely at the gardener's wife. She was busy with her usual work, but there was calmness on her face. Maybe she also felt that her husband had changed. She said shyly, "BBG, yesterday my husband apologized to me. He said he will no longer touch alcohol or intoxicants." I hid the smile that came to my lips and simply replied, "That's good. If he improves, your life will become much easier." But deep in my heart, I knew the truth, that the gardener had found peace because of me. In the days that followed, this became a new routine. Whenever he found a chance, the gardener would quietly come to me. We would talk, smile, and fulfill each other's wishes. For me, those moments felt like a priceless treasure. Whenever I felt him close to me, I thought, this moment is truly special.